for being a few minutes late. I want to begin with a short board president's report. Tomorrow marks the 23rd anniversary of the 9/11 attacks on the World Trade Center bomb. At this time, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence for the victims of these horrific attacks. Okay, thank you. I'd also like to thank the Board of Education for signing up for our back to school nights. I just want to let you know that I will be sending you a reminder a few days before you are supposed to be at the schools. And there will be a board table set up at each location. So I just wanted you all to know that. And lastly, I was hoping with the beginning of school that the board would agree to dressing in school colors for our regular meeting this month. Is that okay with everyone? We'll show our Spartan spirit. So please wear the red or blue to the regular meeting. And that concludes my board president's report. We will now move on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Parlamis. Good evening, everyone in the audience and online. It's nice to see everyone. We have had a wonderful opening to school this year. I can't tell you how wonderful the first 2 days were with staff. It was so wonderful to see them back working so hard. We had a number of orientation programs and professional development, and it was an energized environment in all of our schools. So it was great. And then, of course, on Thursday, the 5th, we welcomed our students back, and to see the students with their excitement and, of course, a little bit of fear. I helped a number of students open up their lockers at TOIS, and that was pure joy for me. I just so happened to be there during homeroom, and was happy to pitch in and teach the right, left, right rhythm of opening up a locker. And so it was great. And I just want to thank all of our staff from every department who worked so hard to get our schools ready and our buses ready and our routes ready, and our teachers who decorated their classrooms, and administrators, and all the things that went into making students feel so welcome when they came into our schools on Thursday. It really was wonderful to see. And I just want everyone to know how thankful I am to have the team that we have. I want parents to be reminded that our back to school nights are starting, as Mrs. Parlamis just mentioned. Wanamassa will be having their open house tomorrow evening, followed by OTES on Thursday night. Next week, Wayside will have 2 open houses, both on the 16th and then again on the 17th. The 16th is preschool through grade 1, and the 17th is grades 2 through 4. And the high school will have theirs on the 19th at 6:30 p.m. And then there are 2 more after that, but they're after the next meeting. So I'll remind everybody at that meeting the dates of the ones that are left. Okay, so we encourage you to please come out to back to school night and our open houses. There are so many resources available to families and connections. We will help you with any struggles you may be having with schedules or Genesis, Parent Portal, or signing up on the lunch forms. Any support you need, our staff is here to help you. And it's a wonderful way to begin the partnership with families and school to make sure this is a wonderful year for our students. So I highly encourage families to come out to those nights. Okay, and I have one final item I'd like to address this evening. After the football game on Friday night, I was informed that a photograph circulated on social media, which showed a presidential election banner displaying the words Trump 2024 hung on our bleachers in front of our students section. Principal Kazuba and I were made aware of this over the weekend and began working on it right away. In addition to sending a letter to the school community, which I'm sure you have seen by now, Mrs. Kazuba also made a special announcement to the student body yesterday morning. After that, the OTHS administration met with specific students and spoke with a number of parents who had contacted us to voice their concerns. Through all of this, we consulted with our school board attorney, Mr. Taylor. Students were informed they cannot affix political banners to school property. Although students are entitled to their First Amendment rights, a public school district, such as ours, must remain neutral. Students were cautioned to be thoughtful in the way they exercise their freedom of speech. In the school environment, students are held to the student code of conduct. Any events that violate the student code of conduct or could be construed as harassment, intimidation, and bullying will need to be investigated as such. So I encourage students to, although you have the right to express your First Amendment rights, do so carefully and thoughtfully. As we move forward, I ask our students to demonstrate the characteristics we expect of our Spartans. I ask the entire community to remember that although we may have opposing viewpoints, we are all one Spartan community. I ask the entire school community to use civility when speaking with each other, to students, and on social media. I ask the school community to join us in educating our students on how to engage in political discourse so they may grow into informed citizens. I ask you to help us as we teach them how to do so respectfully. And finally, I ask, as always, that you partner with us to make this a positive and productive school year for our Spartans. Thank you. This concludes my report.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam President, if I may just add on to Superintendent Weldon's comments, I want to thank her and her administration for working diligently over the past several days to review, research, and respond to this issue. I just want to make it very clear to the board and the public that the board does have existing policies that are in accordance with state and federal law regarding freedom of speech. Students, staff, etc., may wear buttons and articles of clothing and things of that nature expressing certain viewpoints, so long as they don't disrupt the orderly operation of the schools. However, public property has been interpreted as a limited public forum. And so students, staff, members of the public do not have the right to affix or post items and material and banners to public property. So I just want to make that very clear with respect to this Board of Education's respect and compliance with state and federal law, but also its right and obligation to have certain limits and controls on certain speech, whether it's verbal and or symbolic. Thank you.
Thank you both very much.
May I just clarify one?
Yes.
I just, in my memory from, I feel like 4 years ago was probably the last time we faced this. I believed then that staff was not allowed to wear, that we had a policy against staff wearing, you just said staff can wear buttons or shirts or, you know, or is that what I heard? Or is it not what I heard?
I was speaking in a very general context. So like, for instance, staff can wear union buttons. So that's speech as well. So that's been interpreted. Staff cannot engage in electioneering and politics on school ground.
I just wanted to make that.
Thank you for that clarity.
And may I just mention one other thing?
Go ahead.
Caitlin is on, just so you're aware in case, and Jeff, you're aware, Ms. Pam is on. And
thank you for letting me know. I thank you, Ms. Weldon, for your report, and I thank you, Mr. Taylor, for being here.
My pleasure.
To give us some legal advice. Thank you. Okay, with that, we will go on to the school business administrator's report. Mr. Hastings.
Thank you, Madam President. I guess I'll take the opportunity to echo the president's and the superintendent's comments about a great opening for the school year. I want to thank the custodial, maintenance, grounds, IT, and security staff for all the hard work they put in to make the buildings ready to receive our staff and students. I heard as late as this morning from a principal who was talking about how excited the students were to go out and run on one of our new playgrounds that were installed over the summer. So that was very encouraging as well. Transportation is also off to a good start. We're transporting students in the district from 3 and 4 year olds all the way up to 12th graders. We also have out of district runs and vocational runs that take our students to places outside of Ocean Township. We've been looking at ways of making our transportation department more efficient based on working with the arrival times, the dismissal times of the various schools that we pick up and drop off to, both within the district and outside of the district. So that's been a bit of a challenge. Part of that evaluation includes looking at our stops and where the buses are stopping along their routes. There's been a effort to move to more corner stops than necessarily door-to-door stops. That again helps us with the timing of the buses and moving the buses off their routes and back to other buildings for new pickups. That has, however, created some calls from concerned parents who may not have been aware that their stop has moved from in front of their homes to a corner that's nearby. We're working with each of those concerned parents to talk about their situations and to see if adjustments are necessary to the stops that currently are in place, and looking at balancing those requests against the impact on changing those routes. So again, overall, I think it's been a very positive opening for us, including transportation. There's been a few hiccups along the way, and we'll continue to address those as they come and get those resolved.
Great. Thank you for your update as well, Mr. Hastings. At this time, we will take public comment on agenda items only. Is there anyone in the room? Okay. Ms. Conway, can you hear me?
Yes, Madam President. We have a commenter named Shannon, but she must state her full name before commenting.
Okay, you want to give her, we'll give her a minute.
Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Shannon Abatello.
Hi, Mrs. Abatello.
Ms. I'm a parent to 2 kids in the district. I live in Montemassa. And one of my children was part of the photographs that were circulating around. One was taken privately and shared privately. It got around, I guess, you know, that's how social media is. I understand that. What's just upsetting though, is that those particular photos that she had were shared in a private chat group that were PTA parents. And incidentally, the next day, those were the same exact photos that were shared semi-publicly on a Facebook page. All has been taken down. I've spoken to Ms. Kazuba about it. I respect the policies. I respect people's privacy. I just want to make you aware that these are people that are in charge, and I'm not naming any names. I want to keep this as peaceful as possible because I think that that is the goal for everybody. But throughout this discovery process, over the last couple of days with people sharing things to me, I've sort of uncovered some disturbing things that I feel are inappropriate in terms of some of what some of the teachers are doing. One of them I heard from a student in the middle school. And again, I'm not going to name any names, but there is a teacher, at least one, that is showing one political party's poster. And when I asked, do they have the other one? No. And they said, you know, like, that's not okay. Originally, they thought that it was okay because of the nature of the class that it was in. But I said, I think that shows favoritism, and I don't believe that that's okay. And I don't believe that that is according to the policy from what I uncovered with my discussion with Ms. Kazuba yesterday. And in addition to that, which really is more alarming, is that there are a couple of teachers and I think staff members, I'm not sure exactly who is who, but they are within the school system. They're not parents. I believe that they do work for the Board of Ed in some capacity. And it seems, I do have proof, again, I'm not naming any names, I can provide these to Ms. Weldon because I do believe that it should be addressed. And I'm not trying to incite anything. I just want to make parents aware that this is happening, but they're trying to sign kids who are approaching 18 or are 18 to sign up to vote within school time. And that's something that they do when you get your license, you register to vote then, and you can assign your political party. And what's even most alarming is that when I did my own research of where like the signs that were shared amongst these individuals, it's a very one-sided party that is apparently being shown to the children. And again, I just don't think it's something that is appropriate for school. I think it's also against school policy. And I'm here more to speak to parents who are not aware that this might be going on, to speak to their children and ask their children if they've been approached so that they can have those conversations with their children, because we love our teachers. We're so happy that we have them in such a great community, but it's not really the teachers' rights to influence our children one way or another. It is the parents' rights to influence them or guide them, I should say, in that respect. So thank you all for your service and allowing me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Sabatella, for your comments. I do appreciate them, and I do encourage you to reach out to your principal as well as Superintendent Weldon. Is there?
May I just say one more thing? And I forgot, I did leave out. When I did speak to Ms. Kazuba, because the original reason why I was speaking to her and this all got started was because of those photos, and I felt that there was some aspect of cyberbullying. She encouraged me because it wasn't a student and my daughter was safe within the school system. It was an outsider completely from the school. I don't even believe she's in the district. But she encouraged me to go to the police department, which I did. And they encouraged me to alert you to this because they didn't feel that it was right as well. And it unlawful, I guess, because of where they're coming from. So I just wanted to sort of include that so that you understood exactly where I was coming from. Because again, I'm not trying to incite anything. I want this to be peaceful, but I believe in what is right and just. And that's why I'm here. So again, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ms. Conway, is there anyone else?
No, Madam President, there are no further comments.
Okay, thank you. With that, we will move on to the action items. Mr. McCarthy.
Move to approve items 7.1 and 7.2. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on those? No? Okay. Mr. Hastings?
This is to approve 7.1 and 7.2. Mr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mrs.
Abstain.
Mrs. Gilman?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mrs. McGovern?
Yes.
Mrs. Tallarico?
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Parlamas?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Thank you. Personnel, Ms. McGovern.
Yes, I'd like to move to approve items 8.1 through 8.11. May I have a second?
Second.
For all items 8.1 through 8.11, Mr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mrs. Dam?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilman?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mrs. McGovern?
Yes.
Tallarico?
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Parlamas?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion's carried.
Thank you, Ms. McGovern. We will now move on to financial management and resource services. Mr. Weinstein.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to move for approval items 9.1, 9.2, and then we'll have discussion 9.3 to 9.8.
Second. Oh,
I goes to
Is there any discussion on 9.1 or 9.2? That there's none. Mr. Hastings?
Mr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mrs. Dam?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilman?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mrs. McGovern?
yes.
Mrs. Tallarico?
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein?
yes.
Mrs. Parlamas?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Jeff, is there anything you'd like to tell us about 9.3 to 9.8? Anything you want to bring up?
Yes, I'd just like to acknowledge the donations listed in 9.6, 9.7. We have donations from the Turning Point and donations from Netflix and Senator Vingo Powell's Civic Association of School Supplies. And then also the Wayside PTA is making a donation as well of $6,622 to be directed towards playground equipment. So we'd just like to acknowledge those folks.
Can I ask a question?
Ms. McGovern.
I just wanted to know, is there anything that's changed in the Oprah Act? Like, is there anything new, or it's just renewing the Monmouth County shared service?
Right. So the Monmouth County Shared Services Agreement was a 5-year agreement that is up for renewal this year.
Okay.
And it's really a document retention program, a scanning program
Okay.
that the district uses to
So
get out
nothing's
of
different.
paper records and make them digital.
Thank you.
Mr. McCarthy.
The allocation of additional state aid. For $100,000, the stipulation that it just has to be used for mental health purposes. That's it?
correct. So last year we received additional funding when the state approved their final budget in June. And this year again, we received $100,000. And that is directed towards student mental health programs. So that's sort of a broad term that I don't know if the superintendent wants to comment, but we've talked about those things in the past and we'll continue to support those.
Mental wellness of the whole child. We work with the principals on the best programming to put in place using that money, knowing that it's 1 year, a 1 year use.
Understood.
I know you had your hand up.
That was my question.
Okay, wonderful. Mrs. Tallarico.
I just have a question and a statement about the 100,000. This is in addition to the AI computer programming that we were talking about for mental health.
That was a yes.
From the New York.
Yes, we received, as
Company.
Mr. Hicks was saying last year, after a year ago, we also received funding, which we purchased different things. That's one of the things that we purchased that you're speaking of right now. Now this is new funding for additional things.
Has that program been rolled out yet?
It is being rolled out, yes.
Okay, and my comment is that I hope that we can address in-person assemblies for the students and, look at what the increase in the HIBs, the complaints, the investigations, anti-bullying, social media, usage and abuse, and the racial tensions, all of the HIB stuff that we were, talking about in a couple meetings ago.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, we will now move on to instruction, education, and student activities. Mrs. Gilman.
Yes, President Parliames, move to approve items 10.1 to 10.4, including our professional development and field trips and our affiliation with Kane University.
Can we have a second?
Is there a second?
Any discussion?
Was there and maybe this was mentioned when I was not present in executive session because I came late, but was there an attachment for the school field trips, or is that, am I missing something? Is it just on mine that it's not?
Yes.
It's there.
Yeah,
It's there. Okay, so it's just not on mine.
Yeah, they're on there.
Yeah, if you want to look at mine, then we'll. In the meantime, I'll take a Mrs. Tallarico.
I just have a question about the school field trips. What would the kids be doing at the ShopRite for 32 visits?
I can answer.
That's a good question.
So in some cases, they are purchasing supplies for their course program in their life skills program in the classroom. Different groups go. So I'm not looking at the sheet right in front of me right now. Other students go there to learn job skills as well. So
it's not the same kids every week?
No, it is. It is. Are there two events on there or just one?
It's the MD class.
There's
No,
like
it's one.
Classes 11 and 12.
I guess it's each week for the whole
they
school
go
year.
shopping. They run a store that sells breakfast items, coffee to the staff, and they shop every week and prepare a budget, go shopping. It's part of their learning. That's why they go every week, so they have fresh ingredients for the different projects that they do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have any more questions? Okay.
This is items 10.1 through 10.4. Mr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mrs. Dam?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilman?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mrs. McGovern?
Yes.
Mrs. Tallarico?
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein?
Yes to all except for 10.3. I'll recuse myself due to my affiliation with Monmouth University.
Thank you. And Mrs. Parliames?
Yes.
Items carry.
Thank you, Mrs. Gilman. Negotiations, Mrs. McGovern.
Yes, so I just wanted to update. Now we can speak freely about negotiations. So as of our last update that we had in executive session a couple of weeks ago, where that we had settled on an agreement with the TOEA in June, the end of June, but the TOEA was going to wait till they got back into session with their staff to speak to them, to roll out the contract, what had changed to their staff, and so that they could have a vote. I wasn't. The district was notified late Friday or at some point, to let us know that they did ratify this contract. We weren't sure when the ratification was going to take place. So originally this is on for a discussion. My personal opinion is that being that it's on for discussion, that we possibly should, if we can, or I would like to move this if we can, if we're comfortable doing that, since it was, you know, discussed, it was ratified, it was, they did it so quickly. They started their classes. We do have retro checks that will need to go out and stuff like that. So I'm asking to move it, or I make a motion to move this item to vote on it tonight. I don't know if I'll have a second or if people want to do that, but I do make a motion to move it.
Second.
Okay, are we in favor?
Is there any discussion around it or anything that Mr. Hastings or Ms. Walden feel they need to add, or Mr. McCarthy or Ms. Dam from being on the committee need to add?
Okay. I will just say that I'm very happy that the TOEA was able to get together so quickly and ratify. And, you know, I want to thank the board committee and the TOEA for their work that's coming to this contract.
And I too would like to also offer my thanks to the TOEA as well as our Board of Education who worked on negotiations. I know both of you worked very hard on this. We appreciate the time and effort on both sides. So thank you both very much.
And if I can just say that yes. I feel like this was quite a new committee. You know, I think perhaps Jeff and I and a couple TOEA were the only people that have been through a negotiation in that respect at that table in the past. So there was some learning. Michael Gross really helped us a lot, our attorney. And I do feel like we have learned and I think taken notes on both sides maybe about some strategies to make it a little bit, not that nothing was bad, but just, you know, make it more efficient and stuff for going forward the next time. So I do thank the TOEA and your entire team as well. And just think that, you know, our staff are, you know,
thank you.
And that's it.
All right. So I guess.
Okay, we have a motion to move item 11.1. Mr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mrs. Dam?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilman?
Recuse?
McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. McGovern?
Yes.
Ms. Talarico?
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein?
I recuse myself.
Ms. Paralamas?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Okay, we will now move on to policy. Mrs. Gilman.
Yes, Madam President. 12.1 introduces the first reading of revised, new, or abolished policies. If board members would take a look or read them carefully, we will vote at our next meeting. Some having been abolished, like 2480, and others revised by Strauss-Esme.
And if I could just add that this is part of the review that the board has asked us to do of policies that were perhaps at one point not completely updated. Some of them, our version was from 1990 and Strauss-Esme put out a version in 1992. And we as a district may not have updated it at that point. So we are now looking at those 1992 versions and implementing them. But these are not new alerts from Strauss-Esme. This is part of the board's initiative to review policies that were not reviewed before.
Anyone have any questions in regards to these policies? No questions? Okay, we will move on to public relations. Mr. Weinstein.
Relations. Yes, let's have a discussion around the sponsorship program. Jeff, thanks for putting all this together.
Mr. Hastings,
I'm sorry, I can't take any credit for that. It was folks in the business office, Ms. Boomer and others that put this together and put in the yeoman's effort to send out mailers and feelers and follow up on responses and get these responses back. We're very happy that we have these businesses in the township who are looking to support our staff and our students in our district. And again, we'll continue to try and move this program forward, look at ways of growing the program and make it even more successful.
I just want to ask one question.
Yes, sir.
How does this compare to where we were last year?
It's about the same. So I think we had one drop off and we've had one come on.
Mhm.
Anyone else? Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask the board if there is any old business. Ms. McGovern?
I just wanted to say, I'm sorry, I haven't sent it out yet. I will be sending an email about school boards, just to see who we would like to do a team dinner, for anyone that can do it on Tuesday night. I will send an email out so I can make a reservation this week before all of that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any old business? Mr. Weinstein?
I'm just wondering how the cell phone policy was going in the high school for the first couple of days.
Want to jinx it. So far, so good.
It's going.
So far, so good. It actually is going well, but you don't tell teenagers they're doing well at some point. They come back at you. So
I don't believe in
no,
jinxing, so.
I mean, we've had, a few days of school. So
Good.
far, everyone has been wonderful in all schools, intermediate school as well. There's a noticeable difference in the way students are behaving, and it's wonderful to see.
Great, super. Great to hear.
Okay, is there any,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was another question.
is there another question?
Oh, no.
Okay, Mr. Dole, okay. Ms. Talarico?
I just want to know how the bathroom situation is in the high school. Has that gotten any better with the cell phones not being able?
I have not
text.
heard of a complaint in the start of this school year, so it is my understanding that I believe towards the end of last year that had already gotten better, but I have not heard any information this year in the first few days of school about any bathroom issues.
Did you want to say
I
something?
did. I just wanted to make a point, if I may,
Yes,
to the
you may.
Board of Education, that voter registration is an initiative by the New Jersey Department of Education. And I want you to know that they put out a broadcast annually to all school districts, asking us to encourage students aging up to 18 to become, to exercise their civic duty and register to vote. So just for clarification, that is an initiative that we do participate in. We partner with the League of Women Voters to assist us, but the New Jersey Department of Education asks all school districts to help their soon-to-be 18-year-old students register to vote.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Mr. Weinstein?
How does that manifest itself? Is it like in the history classes or is it in any class?
Yes, and we bring the students that are of that age together to an to a gathering space, cafeteria, I believe, or auditorium. They do it. I would have to go over with Mrs. Kazuba exactly the way she's implementing it at this moment in time, because I'm not present for it. However, we do it, and the New Jersey Department of Ed asks us to do it, and we've been doing it for years.
Okay, cool.
It's nothing new.
Great.
And just for the record, it's done in a non-partisan manner.
Correct. Sorry.
Okay,
Thank
Thank
you.
you for that. All right, is there any new business from the board? All right, being that there is no new business, I'd like to ask if there's anyone in the room that has any public comment.
Hi, good evening, Alex Hayes, Oakhurst. I actually had a comment earlier after the first person spoke, but you didn't see me stand up.
I'm
so
sorry.
That's
I
all right.
apologize for that.
That's all right. That's the beauty of public comment, is that we can actually respond to what other people are saying too. Is I had a comment to somebody else's comment. I do want to just start off by saying congratulations to the teachers union. I've long said that we don't pay our staff enough, so it's happy to see 3.5, 3.6, 3.7, whatever it is, teacher union contract increase, and very happy to see the starting salary go up, because ours was, in my opinion, a little embarrassingly low for some new grads to teach here. So awesome job. I know you guys want to get out before the debate tonight. Then again, the school board doesn't meet past 9 p.m. hardly ever. I wanted to follow up a little bit about the school buses. I know Mr. Hastings talked about a few hiccups, a few lateness. A couple of years ago, we did have some school buses that came home 2 hours in advance. Normal hiccups seem fine. I thought yesterday I saw one from Wayside that was like an hour late. So I was just wondering if there's been anything of concern, like super lateness, because it was a pre-K class bus. Thank you, Ms. Walden, for bringing out the Get Out the Vote initiative. perhaps parents in the high school don't know this, but thank you for clarifying that. And I'm super proud that our high school contributes and is a part of soon to be 18-year-olds signing up to vote. Mr. Hastings, last meeting, you talked about the scanner ID machines at every high school. I mean, every school. So it would be nice to know if those are up and running, and parents would probably need to know. Some of them are used to running into the school without their driver's license, but from what I understand, we're now going to need our driver's licenses to, go into the school. So I'm wondering if those machines are up. Find it fascinating that Netflix donated something. So when you say school supplies, I don't know if it's crayons and pens, but I'd love to know what Netflix donated. And then my final comment, and perhaps the school board attorney wants to speak on it, but to my knowledge, there is no expectation of privacy when you attend a high school football game with ballpark 200, 800 people, whatever it is. When I attended on Friday, I fully expect to be in someone's picture, my kids to be in someone's picture. I took photos, I posted photos myself of like the crowd and the football team. So if he wants to clarify if any parents can have an expectation of privacy of their kids going to an outdoor high school football game. I didn't think there was any.
I think it's a process that we should not respond because it's not our policy as a board.
I was gonna say I can't give you legal advice. But I'll just note, just for everyone's knowledge and edification, I just think whatever you put online isn't
just as a point of process. We've taken a policy as a board that we're not going to respond to questions from the public, and that needs to be nonpartisan. So it's my recommendation to the board that we do not respond to that question. We can address as we have with everything else, unless I'm told advised otherwise, the board overturns that. But just as a point of process, I'd like to bring that up.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
No problem.
Is there any other comments?
I can't hopeful tonight, but I saw it on the agenda. So, Allison Connolly, President, Township of Ocean Education Association. I would love to just say I second Amy because it's usually the easiest thing to say. She says everything so perfectly and eloquently and really was amazing during this whole process, but I do have a statement, so bear with me. I was once told that negotiating a contract is an object lesson in compromise, and I can safely say that that is true. This MOA represents a great deal of give and take on both sides, and while there will always be more work to do, I think we produced a document that we can all be proud of. The membership of the TOEA confirmed that last week with their resounding decision to ratify, and the board affirmed it tonight with their vote. I appreciate everyone who trusted us to craft this document and who voted in support of it. I would like to thank the board negotiations team, Ms. McGovern, Ms. Dam, Mr. McCarthy, as well as Superintendent Weldon, Mr. Hastings, and Mr. Cass for their commitment to a respectful and collegial process. While we definitely had our spicy moments, there was one thing that we could always agree on, and that's how to say stipend. I am most grateful, sorry, I had to get it in there. I am most grateful, however, for my own team and especially for my co-chair. These 7 individuals worked with me for almost a year, starting in July of 2023, and remained steadfast in their dedication to this process and to the needs of this association until the MOA was signed. I'm very happy to be starting the school year on such a positive note, which was obviously reinforced here tonight by all of the great things that are happening all over. And I hope we can maintain this energy in the weeks and months ahead. So thank you all very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Ms. Conway, is there anyone in the queue?
No, Madam President, there are no commenters.
All right, thank you so much. I'd like to ask the board to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Please have a second. All right, meeting is adjourned. We'll see you in 2 weeks.